Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back, and today we're going to be covering the new kinetic linear fusion rifle, the Arbalest. This is an extremely special weapon for a lot of reasons. It's tied to the Revelry that starts this week, and before we start, I do give this weapon high marks. With the time that I've spent with it, I think it's simply amazing. It's not a gimmick and is a real option in all areas of the game, but we do need to understand it and understand why. I've seen tidbits from other players and they don't seem to like it, and that's okay, but I actually love it, and again we'll go through why. At the end of the review I do have some PvP gameplay. It's we ran out of medal streak using Arbalest, and 14 out of the 20 kills were using Arbalest for the we ran medal. And in that particular game I had 26 total kills with it, so you guys can stick around after if you'd like. For completion it didn't take me too long. It can take 2 to 4 hours. You can do the 6 triumphs in the forest, play the activity and keep in mind those triumphs. Clear the branches, generate orbs, defeat 3 bosses in one run, defeat 20 bosses with at least 4 pieces of the inaugural Revelry armor on. Focus on those, and for the last triumph I went to the strike playlist. There's one that wants you to get 100 kills with grenades and strikes. Use your tonic for the grenade buff, and you'll get it done in no time. I did all this on the Warlock, mostly using the top tree Nova with the Skull of Dire Ahamkara. That helped me get orbs, helped with bosses, things like that. And then I put on top tree Stormcaller with Arc Web and just spam grenades in the strikes. You could probably get it done in 1, it took me 2 because we had 3 players going for grenade kills. Once you complete Party Hard, you need 300 Essence, which is the event's currency, and then you obtain Arbalest. For its stats, we have a range of 60, stability of 60, handling of 28, reload of 35, aim assist of 61, and a recoil direction stat of 71. So this thing is special being that it's kinetic, but it shares the same charge rate as Crooked Fang, Dead End, or Man of War, things like that. The Arbalest does have the best range and stability of them all. For the perks, we have 3 perks that make up the stats: Composite Stock, Projection Fuse, and Extended Barrel. Now the first of the 2 main perks is Disruption Break. Breaking an enemy's shield with this weapon makes them more vulnerable to kinetic damage over a brief period. Its main perk is Compounding Force. Fire slugs that cause massive damage to elemental shields of enemy combatants. When you talk about one of these perks, you kind of have to talk about both of them, so we'll start with Compounding Force. Since it is kinetic, it's not tied to any specific shield type. It has those slugs. Any weapon matching the element will break the shields faster every time, so let's get that straight. But when you shoot an enemy shield with Arbalest, the slugs are what's doing all the work. When you hit them, multiple hits come from those slugs. That's what's pairing with the other perk, Disruption Break. So when you break the shields, you debuff them and get 50% more kinetic damage on them. Since the Arbalest is kinetic, you can follow up with another shot doing that increased damage, but when you're with a fire team, you and a teammate could be running the Arbalest. You can focus on taking down shields on those shielded enemies, and the other members can be using their kinetic weapon on them. As a solo player, it's okay, because you have to follow up with another shot, but in strikes and other areas, you can take your shots from distance, eliminate those shields, and then have them as an easy cleanup. Another thing about the Arbalest being a linear fusion is the rounds do over-penetrate targets. It goes through anything in a straight line for collateral kills. In PvE, what makes it special is you have the power of a linear fusion that's traditionally in a heavy slot in your kinetic slot. And it's okay if it does less damage, and that damage is sometimes minimal, sometimes it's more against enemies without shields, but its perk set has a specific job that we went over. Any shield it will chew through. Depending on the activity, sometimes it could take 3 or 4 shots. But once you break those shields, you get easy kinetic damage for easy cleanups, and the main thing is it takes special ammo. You have the power of a heavy weapon in the kinetic slot, and there's way more special ammo to go around than heavy ammo. That's probably my favorite part. You simply always have ammo for it. When you start coordinating with your team, that's where it truly shines. In a perfect situation, you and a teammate will be running together, and say they have a Rampage Midnight Coup. They're ripping through ads, getting those Rampage stacks up. Meanwhile, you're hitting all those shielded enemies, and when you do, your teammate's laying down a ×3 stack of Rampage with 50% more damage. And not to mention for you, you can still pull out a sword, a rocket, you can still have an energy element for a Singe. And you can also pair it with a number of things, such as the Hunter's Flawless Execution Shattering Strike melee or the Titan's Hammer Strike. We just went over the bottom tree, coded the Juggernaut Striker Titan with Frontal Assault. And this lets you do 25% more damage in PvE. You pair that with the Insurmountable Skull Fort, you can have that buff the whole time. On the Warlock, since it is kinetic, it does work with Chromatic Fire. So you can over-penetrate your targets, the headshots cause them to explode, and you do more damage to that surrounding area. There's lots of fun stuff you can do. But as with all PvE exotics, especially ones you choose in your kinetic category, that's usually reserved for Ace of Spades, Huckleberry maybe, possibly Izanagi's Burden, but you are taking away Prospector, Thunderlord, various others. Let's say you break the shields, you apply the debuff, and you have a teammate with a ×4 honed edge with Izanagi, just waiting to shoot the shot. That's a really good scenario and something to try with your fire team. In conclusion, for PvE, you have a kinetic weapon doing around the damage of a heavy weapon. It has a very specific job, it over-penetrates targets, it's made for shielded enemies. So you want to break those shields so kinetic weapons can deal 50% more damage. Every exotic in Destiny has a place, and so does the Arbalest. It's no different. If you use it how it wants you to use it, if you do the things it asks you to do, then you're going to start seeing results. I'm really liking it so far. For PvP, here's the deal. This is one of those weapons that you're either going to love or you're going to hate. I just really don't think that there's going to be an in-between on it. It's kind of like a makeshift No Land Beyond from Destiny 1. And just like in PvE, you might not like its application, but others might. It's going to be to the player, and it's okay that you don't like the Arbalest, but don't let others tell you otherwise if you like it, because to me, I like it a lot and don't care what other people think. And I'll go through the reasons why I like it so much in the Crucible. I do think that this is a weapon you're going to see in the future, and it definitely has a place in PvP. Kinetic Linear Fusion, always kind of thought as a sniper that has a charge time. I snipe a good amount. One thing that we didn't cover yet is going to be the scope, a traditional Linear Fusion style scope. Very clean, very open, keeps your field of view open. I look at the Arbalest as the shortest zoom sniper in the game that I can spawn with at all times. With it being short zoom, it's almost like you're shooting with a scout rifle, and the flinch you receive is kinda like that. Let's take a moment real quick and talk about flinch. Now, the flinch in Destiny is atrocious when you're using a sniper rifle. When you're looking through these clips, it doesn't get any worse than this. The culprit most of the time is gonna be a pulse rifle, but all weapons apply crazy flinch, hand cannon, scouts. There's absolutely nothing you can do against some of these weapons sometimes. I've had my shot lined up perfectly only for it to be sent to the sky, and when it does that, you have zero recovery. That does happen with Arbalest, and that's going to happen, but with my experience, it's not as bad. You can recover from it a little bit better. I've had multiple shots, I shoot through them like I did in Destiny 1, I shoot through flinch. It has solely to do with that zoom factor, that more open field of view, less distance for the flinch to travel on your screen. After this review, we do have that we ran game, and we actually saw it in the very beginning opening clips. It was a 1v1 versus a hand cannon. I believe Luna's Hal. He shot me first, and I was able to adjust through the flinch to get the medal. If I had a sniper rifle, I'm not sure if I could hit that shot due to the distance that we were away from each other and the flinch that he would have applied. It's a weapon that you can kind of learn to adjust with versus flinch. Now, one of the big questions before this weapon came out was how was it going to do against supers? The Arbalest is unable to one-shot headshot supers. That leaves the box-breathing Tatara Gaze and the Honed Edge ×2 as the only weapons in the game from Izanagi's Burden that can one-shot a super off of spawn. But back to the Arbalest, even though you don't one-shot them to the head, if you do land a headshot, you're going to make them vulnerable to kinetic damage. This means after you hit them in the head, you can just shoot them in the body to finish them. And if you at least shoot them in the head, and what's nice is you can do it from a distance, your teammates running kinetics can do the rest. As with all special weapons in the Crucible, it's important to have Linear Fusion Scavenger on your gloves and class item to get 3 rounds per brick, and if you can swing it, a Linear Fusion Unflinching is going to be nice on the chest piece. The thing really to get used to is going to be the charge time, but I don't think it's that bad at all because it sets up for drag scopes a lot of the time. It has great aim assist for the stat that it has, it feels very sticky. You can elevate it a little bit with Dragon Shadow and other various exotics, and we have that bottom tree striker that we went over with Frontal Assault. It allows you to one-shot body for 199 damage. For 16 seconds, you have that 20% buff to run around with, and you can one-shot from a distance, again to the body. And of course, the other second weapon that you have is going to have that increased damage as well. On the Warlock, Chromatic Fire is a very interesting option, and it is viable. Since you will be at a distance, we talked about the explosions in a previous video. You have 3 main explosions. We have Dragonfly, Firefly, from Ace of Spades, and the Chromatic Fire explosion. The Chromatic Fire explosion is the only one that can one-shot another enemy for 200 plus damage, and with how players hold lanes, especially at a distance, you can get a lot of collateral kills. The weapon itself comes down to comfort in PvP. You might feel more comfortable with a sniper rifle, and that's okay, but there's nothing wrong with the Arbalest. I'm getting 15 plus kill games with the Arbalest, up to 20 and more. And it's worth mentioning that it has exceptional hip fire in CQC and exceptional shots from the air. It saved me many times. And as for its pairing, it can go with anything. I mean, a Recluse, a hand cannon. I've been using Kindled Orchid a lot. I can hit him with the Arbalest, switch to the Kindled Orchid really quickly, and then hit him in the body to clean him up, and then I have Kill Clip Rampage on that Kindled Orchid. It works out great. And it's been a very fun weapon to use. So if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, thank you guys so much for your continued support. Remember to like and comment. And I'm going to say this one more time. It's okay to like Arbalest. It is also okay not to, obviously. Use what you want. In PvP, I will stress that this weapon will have usage by players that want to work with it because it's a very good weapon. But now's your time. I would like to know your thoughts on it in both PvE and PvP. If I do find out anything more, we can make another video. But the review is now over. I do have that raw PvP gameplay with the We Ran Out of Metal streak, and again, 14 of those were with Arbalest. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.
Hunters like you blaze a path for the rest of us. One. Don't spend all that ammo in one place. Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent. This up and the battle is yours. Only 5 minutes left. The recruits have no excuses. Look at you, at what one Guardian can do. With nothing but your ghost, your weapon, and your life. Double down. Double down. Together as one.